Ichigo says he can't do anything as Rukia had been taken to Soul Society and he can't follow. Urahara reveals he can send Ichigo there if he trains with Urahara for the next 10 days, revealing Soul Society typically allows a grace period of 1 month before executions. Saying Ichigo will die if he goes there in his current condition, he reveals he purposely allowed Ichigo to fight Renji and Byakuya so he would realize this after he fought them himself. He states it will take 7 days to open the gate to Soul Society, leaving Ichigo with 13 days in Soul Society to rescue Rukia. Though unsure if he can become strong enough in 10 days, Ichigo agrees to Urahara's deal. Giving Ichigo some pills to take every hour, Urahara saying he will recover from his injuries Ganju Shiba, Ichigo and the others are brought to Kukaku Shiba in search of a new means of entering Serete. There, Ichigo trains to operate the Reishukaku they will be using to breach the protective barrier above Serete. Joining the group, Ganju helps Ichigo learn how to use the Reishukaku. At dawn, they're launched from Kukaku's Kakugoho fireworks cannon. Despite Ichigo's struggle to control his power input into the Reishukaku, they successfully break through the barrier only to be separated from each other. Grabbing Ichigo, Ganju ensures a safe landing for them, but Ichigo is confronted by Ikaku Madarame. Beating Ikaku, Ichigo, sparing his life, learns that as the strongest of the intruders, he will be hunted down by Captain Kenpachi Zaraki. Accidentally attracting the attention of more Shinigami, Ichigo meets up with Ganju again. Surrounded, they decide to take Hanataro Yamada hostage as they try to escape. Stuck with Hanataro, they take advantage of his offer to show them a shortcut through the sewers to Rukia's cell. Upon exiting the sewers, Ichigo is confronted by Renji, who gravely injures Ichigo in their ensuing battle. After a struggle, Ichigo, becoming stronger during the fight, defeats Renji with the Getsuga Tensho. Renji begs him to rescue Rukia. In the sewers, Ichigo is healed by Hanataro, who discovers Ichigo's hollow mass lessen the damage from what would have been fatal blows by Renji. After recovering, Ichigo, encountering Kenpachi, initially struggles to even cut the powerful captain. After Zangetsu helps Ichigo find his resolve, Ichigo manages to injure Kenpachi. Viewing Ichigo as his equal, Kenpachi decides to unleash his full power, prompting Ichigo and Zangetsu to work together to summon his full power. After the fight ends with both of them incapacitated, Ichigo is rescued by Yoruichi. After learning of Yoruichi's true Shinigami form and being partly healed, Ichigo rushes to save Hanataro and Ganju from Byakuya. Upon his arrival, he confronts Byakuya, but knowing Ichigo isn't ready to fight someone of Byakuya's caliber, Yoruichi, stopping the fight, incapacitates Ichigo, swearing to make Ichigo stronger than Byakuya in 3 days. After escaping, Yoruichi, taking Ichigo to a hidden area, tells Ichigo he can't save Rukia with his present power, asking him to undergo Bankai training. Upon completing this training, Ichigo stops the Sokyoku from killing Rukia, and after sympathetic captains Shunsui Kyoraku and Jushiro Ukitake destroy the Sokyoku, Ichigo, freeing Rukia, gives her to Renji to protect. After stopping 3 lieutenants from pursuing them, he's confronted by Byakuya once more. Coercing Byakuya into using his Bankai, Ichigo, unable to keep up just using his Shikai, reveals his own Bankai, Tensa Zangetsu, and uses his increased speed to outmaneuver Byakuya's Bankai. After Byakuya counters with his Senkei technique, after a while, Ichigo begins to slow and weaken, giving Byakuya the chance to immobilize him. As he's about to be struck down, Ichigo's inner hollow, surfacing, injures Byakuya. After regaining control of himself, Ichigo and Byakuya prepare for one final clash. When Ichigo demands to know why Byakuya will not save his sister, Byakuya promises to answer if Ichigo wins. After they clash, while Ichigo struggles to stand, Byakuya explains himself. Through a message relayed via Kito by Isane Kotetsu, Ichigo finds out the events in Soul Society were an elaborate plot masterminded by Sosuke Aizawa.
כן.
When Renji, refusing to hand over Rukia, is wounded by Aizen, Ichigo arrives to fight against the treacherous captain. Joining forces to fight Aizen, the pair's effort proves to be futile, and Aizen, blocking their attack, cuts through Ichigo's midriff, defeating him. As Aizen takes Rukia by the collar, Ichigo interrupts him, and Aizen tells Ichigo how he planned every move from the beginning for his goal, obtaining the Hogyoku. After Aizen defeats Captain Sajin Komamura, Ichigo is dumbstruck at the difference in power. Continuing his explanation, Aizen states Urahara, planting the Hogyoku inside Rukia's soul to hide it, gave her a Gigai which would ultimately reduce her to a normal human. Ichigo helplessly looks on as Aizen, extracting the Hogyoku from within Rukia, departs to Wekamundo. After being healed by Orihime, Ichigo and the others spend a week in Soul Society, where he, sparring with the 11th Division, learns from Rukia she has decided to stay in Soul Society. As they prepare to leave, Ukitake gives Ichigo a substitute Shinigami badge which serves as a license, allowing him to hunt hollows in his area officially. Arrancar arc. After Ichigo returns from Soul Society, he returns the protective charm to Isshin, who, saying he doesn't want it, sews it into Ichigo's school uniform, leaving Ichigo to wonder if he lied about Masaki having given him the charm. At school, he realizes Tatsuki can see his substitute Shinigami badge, which alerts him to a nearby hollow, which he rushes to defeat. That night, he's confronted by Shinji Hideko, who reveals both he and Ichigo are visored. Ichigo shrugs off Shinji's repeated requests to join him. When Ichigo, seeming depressed, returns from school, he, brushing off his family's concerns, goes to his room, where he contemplates still being able to hear his inner hollow, and how it's been becoming worse lately. Interrupting his thoughts, Karin reveals she knows he's a Shinigami. As Ichigo tries to dismiss this notion, the arrival of two Arrancar in Karakura town causes Ichigo to rush off. Upon seeing Sado injured, Ichigo, battling Yami Yargo with his Bankai, manages to cut off his arm. Ichigo's inner hollow interfering paralyzes Ichigo, allowing Yami to injure both him and Orihime. Yoruichi and Urahara arrive to protect them, prompting the Arrancar to withdraw. After his failure against Yami, Ichigo becomes depressed that he can't protect his friends. This mood lasts until the arrival of a Gotei 13 expeditionary force under the command of Toshiro Hitsugaya. Rukia forces Ichigo to defeat a hollow, all the while chastising him, and forces him to apologize to Orihime. Later that day, Ichigo, discussing the growing Arrancar threat with Hitsugaya's forces, learns what the Arrancar actually are. After they discuss the mission, Ichigo, annoyed by their company, asks them when they'll be leaving. When Renji tells him they can't return to Soul Society until after the Arrancar threat is dealt with, Ichigo insists they can't all stay at his house, and they eventually leave except for Rukia, who convinces Isshin and Yuzu to allow her to stay in the girls' room using a cover story. During the night, 6 Arrancar, led by Grimjaw Jägerjacket, invade Karakura town, seeking targets with spiritual power. Rukia states one of them has already arrived at Sado's house. Sado is attacked by Diro Rinker, but Ichigo arrives in time to stop him. Ichigo tells Sado to let him handle the Arrancar, and Sado leaves. When Rukia arrives, asks Ichigo what he said to Sado, Ichigo tells her he told him to step aside and let him fight. Telling Ichigo to step aside as he already exceeded his strength when he fought Yami, Rukia transforms into her Shinigami form, which surprises Ichigo. Chappie, the artificial soul possessing Rukia's Gigai, restrains Ichigo while Rukia fights. As Chappie explains Rukia's Zanpakuto to him, they're confronted by Grimjaw. As Rukia yells to Ichigo to retreat, Grimjaw impales her. Charging at Grimjaw, Ichigo, unable to harm him with his Shikai, activates his Bankai, but Grimjaw, blocking Ichigo's strikes unarmed, outmaneuvers him. Grimjaw continues to overwhelm Ichigo until he uses his Black Getsuga Tensho to attack Grimjaw. Blocking it with his arms, the Arrancar takes minimal damage, and Ichigo realizes he's in danger of his inner hollow taking over. The fight is brought to a close when Kaname Tosen forces Grimjaw return to Wekamundo. When an angry Ichigo demands Grimjaw finish their fight, Grimjaw counters by saying the only reason Ichigo is still alive is because he's leaving before their fight is finished. As the Garganta closes, Ichigo is left to ponder the events which have occurred. When Renji, arriving, asks Ichigo if he won, Ichigo states he lost, but Renji says since he's alive, it means he won. Telling him not to patronize, as he would not be saying this if he were in Ichigo's position, Ichigo states he can't protect anyone or even help the wounded. Feeling unable to control his inner hollow, Ichigo seeks out the Visored in order to gain control. At their hideout, Hiyori Sarugaki draws out his inner hollow, which nearly kills her. The other Visors stop Ichigo, who's told he must force the hollow into the very core of his soul. After a brief period of unappreciated training, Ichigo is sent into his inner world to face his inner hollow. While the Visored fight his out-of-control body, in his inner world, Ichigo, unable to damage the hollow, is instead stabbed. After a brief discourse with his hollow and another with a manifestation of Kenpachi, Ichigo learns he lacks pure fighting spirit, instead needing reasons to fight his opponents. His spirit rekindled by this revelation, Ichigo, subduing his inner hollow, regains consciousness. Ichigo trains with Hiyori to increase the amount of time he can stay in his new masked form. A month later, Ichigo once again fights Grimjaw, though he can only remain in his masked form for 11 seconds. As he overwhelms the Six Espada, his mask crumbles when the time limit expires, and Grimjaw counterattacks. Pinning his hands to the ground, the Espada tries to kill him with a Zero, but Rukia freezes his arm. As Grimjaw tries to kill her, Shinji, stepping in, fights him until the Arrancar retreat. When tending to Ichigo's wounds, the visored Hachigen Ushida reveals Ichigo's spiritual power had been contaminated somewhat by Grimjaw's, and at his behest, Rukia takes Ichigo home to recover. While in a deep sleep, he's visited by Orihime, who heals his wounds. When Ichigo awakens, he realizes his wrist had been healed by Orihime. Hitsugaya brings him to Orihime's apartment for an emergency communication with Soul Society. Captain Ukitake tells them Orihime was taken by the Arrancar and might have been killed. When Ichigo reveals she visited him to heal him the night before, Captain Commander Yamamoto believes she has betrayed them. Silencing Ichigo's protest, Renji requests permission to go to Wakamundo to rescue her, but the request is denied. When Ichigo asks to go save Orihime by himself, Yamamoto, once again denying the request, states Ichigo is a significant asset to Soul Society. The Shinigami are ordered to return to Soul Society to fortify their defenses, leaving Ichigo alone. While being confronted by Tatsuki over Orihime's disappearance, Ichigo learns Tatsuki can see him in Shinigami form. Trying to distance himself from his friends, Ichigo goes to Urahara's shop. Ichigo is joined by Uryu and Sado, and after some convincing, the trio agree to help each other rescue Orihime. Urahara opens her Garganta to Wakamundo, and they enter the portal. Wakamundo arc. As Ichigo, Sado, and Uryu enter Wakamundo, they are promptly attacked by two Arrancar, Demurazad, and Ice Layer Warnar. Ichigo is told to stay back as Sado and Uryu engage the two Arrancar by themselves. Once they win, the room and passageway collapses around them, forcing the trio to race outside where they see Las Noches. Seeing Nell 2 being chased by three hollows, they, intervening, are surprised to learn the child is an Arrancar, and her pursuers are her two brothers and their pet playing a game. Traveling towards Las Noches, the expanded group comes under attack by the sand-based hollow Urunuganga. The hollow is immune to their attacks, but the group is saved by Renji and Rukia, who defeat it. Breaking into Las Noches, Ichigo and his group split up. Following Ichigo, Nell catches up to him just as he's attacked by Dordoni Alessandro del Sacaccio. Trying to defeat the Priverone Espada without his Bankai, Ichigo is unable to do so. When Dordoni fires a Zero at Ichigo, Nell, intervening, absorbs the blast before firing it back at him. Dordoni attacks Nell, prompting Ichigo to use his Bankai to save her. Dordoni tries to convince Ichigo to use his Hollow Mask, which he ultimately does, defeating Dordoni in an instant upon doing so. Partly healed by Nell, Dordoni attacks Ichigo, who, blocking the attack, runs away with Nell after Dordoni gives his life to keep the Exekias from stopping them. Upon sensing Rukia's defeat, Ichigo is confronted by Ulquiorra. When Ulquiorra tells Ichigo Rukia had been killed, Ichigo, attempting to leave to save her, reasons he and Ulquiorra have no reason to fight. When Ulquiorra successfully goads Ichigo into fighting, Ichigo delivers an extremely powerful attack, but Ulquiorra, suffering little damage, counterattacks, revealing himself to be the fourth Espada. Impaling Ichigo's chest with his hand, Ulquiorra leaves. Grimjaw, wanting to fight him at full strength, brings Orihime to heal Ichigo. When Ichigo uses his Hollow Mask to protect Orihime and Nell from Grimjaw's Gran Rey Zero, Grimjaw, seeing Ichigo is finally at his full strength, releases his Resurrección, fiercely attacking Ichigo. As both combatants are heavily injured, Grimjaw prepares to strike down Ichigo, whom Orihime begs not to get hurt anymore. Stopping Grimjaw's attack, Ichigo slashes him. Enraged at the injury, Grimjaw, impaling Ichigo through the stomach, uses his most powerful attack, Desgarron. Overcoming this, Ichigo defeats Grimjaw. As the sixth Espada tries to attack once more, Ichigo stops him. Noichiro Gilga, Ichigo looks away. After the battle with Aizen, Ichigo asks if everyone's memories have been erased. Saying no, which relieves Ichigo, Urahara tells him Aizen's punishment will be dealt with by Central 46. Asking him if Aizen was really rejected by the Hogyoku, Ichigo, wondering if Aizen himself wished to lose his power, explains his theory of Aizen wishing to just be a Shinigami. When Orihime, Uryu, Rukia, Sado, and Renji arrive, Ichigo, greeting them, collapses, screaming in pain. A month later, Ichigo, regaining consciousness, finds himself back home surrounded by Orihime, Rukia, Uryu, and Chad. When Rukia reveals Urahara told him he had lost his Shinigami powers, Ichigo tells Rukia he will most likely have to give back his substitute Shinigami title. Revealing the first stage of loss brings intense pain, loss of consciousness, and a reverse flow of the time his body experienced in the Dangai, she further explains he lost his Shinigami powers at that point. In the second stage, his remaining Reiatsu stabilizes. He wakes up, and the remainder of his spiritual power completely disappears. Saying he expected this to happen, Ichigo, asking if he can go outside, notes he can no longer sense spiritual presences anymore, and it's becoming harder to see Rukia. As Rukia starts to fade before his eyes, Ichigo, asking her to give his best regards to everyone, says goodbye and thanks her. The Lost Substitute Shinigami Arc. 17 months after defeating Aizen, Ichigo, starting his third year in high school, notes ever since his powers disappeared, Karen's have been getting stronger. Since she hasn't asked him about it, Ichigo figures she's been dealing with it well. At school, Ichigo finds his substitute Shinigami badge in his bag and notes it's lost its abilities. Noticing Uryu running out of the classroom, aware he took over the hollow extermination he used to cover, he notes to himself it's probably better for Uryu to handle it than Zenosuke Kurumadani. As he walks home, Ichigo, stopping an armed thief, reflects on how he still has the body and reflexes of someone trained to fight and win. Inside the Unagiya shop, Kugo enters the store. Ichigo recognizes him as the man whose bag he recovered. As he leaves, Kugo tells Ichigo to go to the Urahara shop. There, Ichigo, witnessing Karin leaving, wonders why she's there. Kugo approaches, calling Urahara a shady character. As Ichigo tries to defend Urahara, Kugo, questioning how much he knows about Urahara, warns him to act quickly to defend his family. Telling Kugo he doesn't trust him, Ichigo is given a business card. At dinner time, Ichigo, rushing to Karakura Hospital, looking for the injured Uryu, finds Orihime already there. When he asks where Sado is, Orihime tells him he didn't answer when he was called. After Ryuken Ishida reveals the cause of Uryu's wounds, Ichigo asks what happened. After Uryu states it had nothing to do with him, Ichigo offers to walk Orihime home, but Ryuken, deciding to drive her home instead, tells Ichigo he should get home as well. After thanking him, Ichigo runs off. Frustrated, there's something going on which he can do nothing about. When he dials the number on the card Kugo gave him, a voice welcomes him to execution. Kugo arranges a meeting on the following evening at an address in Naruki City. The following day, when Orihime asks Ichigo if he knew what happened to Sado, who was absent from school, Ichigo states he doesn't know and declines an offer to go to Sado's house with her. That evening, when Ichigo arrives at the meeting place, he's greeted by Kugo. Ichigo tells him his friend was attacked and he wants to help. When Kugo asks if Ichigo trusts him, Ichigo says he's probably not a normal human. Giving a vague answer, Kugo notes Ichigo has nobody else to count on. As they enter Execution's hideout, where Ichigo sees some of the other members of the group, Kugo reveals they aim to restore his Shinigami powers. When Ichigo demands to know how and why they intend to do this, Kugo, insisting on taking their time, reveals the members of Execution are Fullbringers, demonstrating their abilities. When a complaining Hiruka Dokugamine enters the room, Ichigo asks Kugo who she is. When he, introducing her, tells her to come in, she's followed inside by Yatsutora Sado, surprising Ichigo. When Ichigo angrily asks Sado why he's there and why he hasn't been going to school, Kugo tells him to calm down so he can explain everything. As Ichigo glares at him, Kugo reveals a Fullbringer is a person who had a parent who was attacked by a hollow before their birth. Traces of the hollow's power remains in their mother's bodies and are passed on to them at birth. These Fullbringers are more like hollow than Shinigami powers. He further explains Fullbringers don't enjoy their powers, similar to the way Ichigo hated his hollow powers. Kugo says he wants to erase his powers, and they have learned they can pass their powers on to someone who possesses both human and Shinigami powers. Ichigo realizes he wasn't the first person born from a Shinigami and a human. Kugo says they have old allies who have reverted to being human, and they'll help Ichigo get his Shinigami powers back so he can help them become normal humans. He explains Sado offered to help them because it meant Ichigo getting his powers back. When Kugo says they will restore his Shinigami powers and add their own powers on top of that, Ichigo accepts this deal. Later, Ichigo is called back to Execution's hideout, where Ririka uses her Fullbring to miniaturize and place him inside a dollhouse. Ichigo is confronted by Mr. Pork, a stuffed animal, which he's instructed to defeat by using Fullbring. Mr. Pork, which has a Yakuza man trapped inside it, attacks, forcing Ichigo to take evasive action. Shrugging off Riruka's complaints, Ichigo, saying he doesn't even understand the situation yet, asks how this will help him regain his Shinigami powers, and how he can suddenly use a power he has never used before. The Yakuza say if he doesn't kill Ichigo within 15 minutes, he will be trapped there permanently. Riruka leaves Ichigo, who, reflecting on what she said, thinks about how Kugo transformed his pendant into a sword, concluding he should focus on something he regularly has with him. Ichigo holds his badge as the 15 minutes expire and Mr. Pork, entering Mad Beast mode, grows in size. Sato tells Ichigo it was pride which allowed him to use his full brain. When Ichigo thinks of times he was proud to be Shinigami, his badge begins to take the form of Tensa Zangetsu's Suba. When Kugo explains the badge recorded every battle Ichigo ever fought, a shocked Ichigo, testing out a variety of ways to use this new power, successfully launches a large amount of energy shaped like a manji at Mr. Pork, which defeats him. Ichigo wonders if the power will help him get his Shinigami powers back. At Ichigo's behest, Riruka restores him to his normal size. As Sato and Ichigo walk to Sato's home, the latter tells Ichigo Orihime had been bringing him leftover bread every day lately. Ichigo tells him she's worried about him and he should call her. As Sato goes to give half of it to Ichigo, he, noticing something wrong with her Reiatsu, states something has happened to her. When Ichigo tries to call Orihime, Sato tells him not to, as it could distract her and lead her to her death. He says he can't quite locate Orihime's exact location, but Ichigo can tell by the direction they're going she's at her apartment. Arriving to find Orihime kneeling in front of her door, they ask her if she's alright. Grabbing her shoulder, seemingly distracted, Orihime, noticing Sato and Ichigo, asks why they're there. Hearing their explanation, Orihime tells them nothing happened, and she was with a friend before going into her apartment. As they leave, Ichigo asks Sato about Orihime. Stating he was probably sensing things wrong, Sato tells Ichigo not to worry. Realizing Sato and Orihime won't tell him anything, Ichigo, going to the execution hideout, explains the situation, telling them he believes Orihime was attacked by the same person who attacked Uryu. When Kugo and Jackie Tristan both suspect it's Shukuro Tsukishima, Ichigo asks who this is, and Kugo reveals Tsukishima is a Fullbringer and the former leader of Execution, who came up with the idea to give their powers to a substitute Shinigami. When they did so, he, killing the Shinigami and those who gave him their power, disappeared. Showing Ichigo a substitute Shinigami badge, he tells him he believes Tsukishima wants to keep Ichigo away from them, and is using his attacks on Uryu and Orihime to get his attention. He tells him to go home until they're ready for the next stage of training. While walking the streets, Ichigo, spotting Isshin meeting with Urahara in the alley, hides. When they leave, Ichigo, contemplating Kugo's warning about Urahara, wonders if he should follow them, but decides not to. Later, Ichigo returns to Execution's hideout, where Riruka places him inside a fish tank to fight Jackie. After an exchange of words between the pair, Jackie activates her full bring, Dirty Boots, and they begin to fight. Telling Ichigo he's too lax and can't take his time getting into a battle, as Reiatsu from Ichigo's badge begins to engulf his right arm, Ichigo begins to tire. When Jackie says they'll abort the training, as Ichigo's full bring is going berserk in a way she's never seen before, Ichigo is adamant in continuing. Believing it's too dangerous to continue, Jackie decides to stop him by force. When Tsukishima arrives at the execution headquarters, he cuts through the fish tank and Ichigo emerges, engulfed in Reiatsu shaped similarly to a Shinigami Shihakusho. Asking who he is, Ichigo clashes with him. When Sato attacks Tsukishima to protect Ichigo's new powers, Ichigo, learning he was being protected from the truth, realizes Tsukishima attacked both Uryu and Orihime. Managing to surprise Tsukishima in the subsequent clash, Ichigo is swiftly overwhelmed. Protecting him, Kugo states he can't let them fight yet. Using his full bring, Yukio Han's Veralberna seals Ichigo, preventing him from interacting with Tsukishima. Later, in Execution's backup hideout, Yukio frees Ichigo, who asks what happened with Tsukishima. When Kugo states he has fled for now, Ichigo asks what Kugo's worried about, stating if Tsukishima wanted to harm Execution, he could have kept going, but it seems his objective is Ichigo. Kugo tells Yukio to help with Ichigo's training. When Ichigo asks if it'll be a live battle, Kugo, saying that's what seems to work best for him, states he will fight Ichigo himself. Yukio loads Ichigo and Kugo into his console. Arriving inside Yukio's game world to find a badly injured Ichigo lying on the ground, Orihime begins to heal him. When Ichigo guesses Sato called her, Sato, arriving, confirms this, saying he knows Ichigo didn't want Orihime to get wrapped up in this, but they'll need her. When Kugo, growing impatient, asks Ichigo if he's ready to fight, Ichigo says yes, ignoring Orihime's protest. As they fight, Ichigo notes he can't feel anything from Kugo's sword, comparing it with his battle with Gin Ichimaru. He notes while Tsukishima didn't look at him, he felt his killing intent. He wonders if he can't feel anything because they're not using Zanpakuto, or if it's because he doesn't fully trust Kugo. Slashing Ichigo's eyes, Kugo notes when Ichigo lost his powers, he also lost his resolve. Blind and confused, Ichigo, demanding to know what Kugo is doing, states he doesn't trust him, as he's not helping him as he promised he would. Kugo states their deal was to get his Shinigami powers back, and if he didn't trust him, he shouldn't have agreed to his training. Walking away, Kugo telling Ichigo he's going to kill Sado and Orihime, further taunts him. Struggling for a moment, Ichigo, reflecting on his inability to see, move, or speak, sees a white shape in the darkness, realizing he's beginning to see Kugo's Reiatsu. As Ichigo begins to manifest a new form, power explodes from him. Putting his life on the line to control the explosion, Kugo expresses his pride in Ichigo's accomplishment, stating his villain act isn't the best and welcomes Ichigo to execution. Taking his badge, Ichigo, trying out his new Fullbring, leaves Yukio's Fullbring, thanking him. Yukio states only 90 minutes have passed thanks to his Fullbring's abilities. Going home, Ichigo is met at the door by Yuzu, who says they have a surprise guest. He finds Tsukishima, whom Yuzu calls Cousin Shu, sitting on the couch. Tsukishima greets Ichigo. Watching in disbelief, Ichigo, grabbing Tsukishima, demands an explanation for why he's there. As Karin and Yuzu try to pry him off Tsukishima, the doorbell rings. Asking Yuzu to get it, Tsukishima says it must be Keiko and the others. As Tatsuki begins to lecture Ichigo on staying out so late, Tsukishima, telling Ichigo he called everyone, starts to call Sado and Orihime as well. As he's on the phone, Ichigo attacks him, prompting Tatsuki to berate Ichigo for attacking his relative. As Ichigo states she's wrong, everyone asks why he's acting the way he is. Fleeing his house, Ichigo, wondering whether what's going on is Tsukishima's ability, runs into Ikumi, who takes him to her store to let him calm down and talk about it. As Ichigo decides against telling her about Shinigami and Hollows, as it would make her uncomfortable, Tsukishima arrives at the store, and Ichigo, fleeing once again, says he needs someone in their right mind. Finding him, Kugo says everyone in execution has fallen for Tsukishima's trap. Kugo takes Ichigo to a location, which he says no member of execution knows about, to discuss what had transpired. When Ichigo wonders why everyone's acting the way they are, Kugo tells Ichigo that, thanks to information Sado provided about Tsukishima's attack on Orihime, and with what has transpired, his ability may be inserting himself into people's pasts. When Ichigo asks if it would stop if Tsukishima were to die, Kugo, telling Ichigo he doesn't really know, asks if Ichigo could kill him despite this. Finding them, Yukio takes them to Tsukishima's mansion. As Ichigo, angrily rushing towards Tsukishima when he spots him, reaches for his badge, Kugo, stopping him, warns Ichigo if he's correct about Tsukishima's ability, they'll be in trouble if he's cut even once. Inviting them inside, Tsukishima says he only wants to talk. As a reluctant Ichigo enters the mansion, his family and friends greeting him tell a shocked Ichigo he should be happy. Tsukishima isn't angry, urging him to apologize. Kugo tells him not to worry because even though they view Tsukishima as a friend, they still view Ichigo as their friend too. It's too much for Ichigo to handle and he flees the room. He wants to kill Tsukishima, but he can't fight him where his friends and family can be dragged into it. Going upstairs, he comes across the other members of execution. As Tsukishima appears behind Ichigo, Kugo appears, having destroyed the stairs so Ichigo's family and friends can't follow, and tells Ichigo he can now fight without holding back. Ichigo activates his Fullbring, and while Tsukishima is activating his, Ichigo cuts off his left arm. As Tsukishima expresses his surprise at Ichigo mastering his Fullbring in such a short time, Ichigo tells him he arrived to kill him. As Sado bursts through the window, he and Orihime shield Tsukishima. As Orihime heals Tsukishima's arm, Ichigo is left unable to believe Sado and Orihime have become the same as the others. As both Orihime and Sado say Ichigo was able to save Rukia and defeat Aizen because Tsukishima helped him do so, Tsukishima, appearing behind Ichigo, asks him if he understands, but Ichigo tries to attack him. As Tsukishima reveals the ability of his Fullbring, Book of the End, is to modify the past of those affected by it, Ichigo tries to attack him, but Orihime stops him with her Santen Keshu. As Sado, trying to attack Ichigo, says he didn't become strong to fight with Ichigo, he attacks again, and Ichigo is pushed outside from the force of the attack. As he, wondering why things turned out this way, says he only wanted to protect his friends, he asks what he got his powers back for. When Tsukishima appears above Ichigo, he charges at him. As they fight, Tsukishima gets behind Ichigo to attack him, but Kugo takes the attack instead. When Ichigo rushes to see if Kugo's alright, Kugo insists he's a comrade. When Uryu arrives, Ichigo questions his allegiance. Not wanting to fall for a trap, Ichigo is hesitant to listen to Uryu. As Uryu tells Ichigo it was Kugo who attacked him, Kugo attacks Ichigo, who asks if Kugo was turned by Tsukishima's power. Revealing their allegiance was a ruse, and Tsukishima had just returned him back to normal by cutting him a second time. Kugo, merging the substitute Shinigami badge he had with his sword, tells Ichigo it's time to relieve him of his Fullbring, stabbing Ichigo through his chest. Kugo reveals he was the one who actually attacked Uryu, and ordered Tsukishima to cut him, making them enemies who betrayed each other. Kugo further states Tsukishima's ability prevented Ichigo from suspecting him. As Kugo withdraws his blade from Ichigo's chest and Ichigo's full bring disappears, Ichigo thinks about how hard it was for him to go 17 months without any power, and when he thought he found a way, he was so happy he could protect his friends again. When a distraught Ichigo asks Kugo to give his power back, Kugo states it was the power he gave to Ichigo and it belongs to him. Kugo says he will spare his life and he should thank him. After Tsukishima and Kugo leave, Ichigo is stabbed in the back by Rukia with a special sword containing the Reiatsu of the Gotei 13 senior officers and other Shinigami. Ichigo emerges from the resulting explosion with a new Shinigami outfit and a slightly altered Zangetsu. Ready to fight, greeting Ichigo, Rukia, momentarily berating him, reveals Urahara told her about Tsukishima's ability. Reassuring him about this, she explains about the sword Urahara made to restore Shinigami powers to Ichigo. Returning, Kugo, disputing this, is cut off by the arrival of more Shinigami. Rukia tells Kugo he only stole a small portion of Ichigo's power, which had Ichigo's full bring and Ichigo's Shinigami powers well up from deep inside. He could never take that from him. Ichigo fires a Getsuga Tensho at Kugo. As Ichigo's Getsuga Tensho misses Kugo and Kugo tries to retreat, Ichigo, stopping him, attacks Kugo with another Getsuga Tensho, before asking if it was a crime to transfer Shinigami powers to a human. As Renji reveals Captain Commander Yamamoto ordered all captains and lieutenants to put their Reiatsu into Urahara's sword to help bring back Ichigo's Shinigami powers, Hitsugaya tells him he did this because Ichigo was able to change Soul Society through his actions, and he should accept it proudly. As Ichigo notices Kugo emerging from the dust below, Hitsugaya tells Ichigo Yamamoto also gave the order to stop the original substitute Shinigami, Kugo Ginjo. When Ichigo is confused about this, Hitsugaya, reminding him of when Ukitake gave him his badge, tells Ichigo the substitute Shinigami law was created solely because of Kugo, before stating they need to focus on Kugo right now. Thanking Ichigo, Kugo says if he had not taken his powers, he would have been dead by now. After Kugo grants the other members of Execution part of Ichigo's full bring, Ichigo attacks them all. Using his full bring, Yukio, deceiving Ichigo, protects the Fullbringers from harm. Reminding Ichigo they received his full bring powers, which allows for them to wear their powers as a mantle, he says with Ichigo's help, his Invaders Must Die is now able to influence the world outside his console. After Yukio uses his full bring to split everyone up into individual rooms, Ichigo and Uryu find themselves facing Kugo in a replica of Karakuta Town, an environment which Kugo says he picked so Ichigo could fight easier. When Ichigo asks if Uryu's hurt, the Quincy, saying Rukia healed him, apologizes to Ichigo, saying when he first saw the substitute badge, he had thought there were other substitutes before him. He thought if the previous one was alive, they would have told Ichigo, and if he was dead, they would have said why, leading Uryu to believe Soul Society didn't know. Kicking Uryu, Ichigo tells him it doesn't matter, as they couldn't have done anything anyhow, and he would have forgotten in a few days.
Oh well, I couldn't have done anything.
ごめんねみんな。ごめんねみんな。
Makoto apologized, her eyes welling up with tears. Then she crouched down and tried to slip a piece of loose leaf paper under the overturned lunchbox, seemingly trying as hard as she could to pick up. Huh? So dash. Oh well, I couldn't have done anything. Else she could pick it all up without making a mess. I stood idly by and watching her. Girls never pack much in their lunch boxes, do they?
本当にどうでもいいところばっかり見てるな、山水は。
I told you to fucking shut up! Makoto apologized, her eyes welding up with tears. That's not the only thing I'm paying attention to.
「スカートのあたりだろ。
Then she crouched down and tried to slip a piece of loose leaf paper. Shuji, just who do you think I am? You bastard.
むっつりの変態だ。弁当箱の他に何を見てたか言ってみろ。むっつりの変態だ。弁当箱の他に何を見てたか言ってみろ。
Says the one who's staring at my little sister, you perv. I wish my urge to kill you is forever more growing. I can't see her in panties from this angle, but I'm happy just to see her skirt flapping against her legs.
おっさん臭いし、かわいそうだから追い打ちはやめて差し上げろ。
I'm gonna send you in there.
食べ物を粗末にしちゃった。食べ物を粗末にしちゃった。
I stood idly by watching her. Girls never pack much in their lunch boxes, do they?
本当にどうでもいいところばっかり見てるな、山水は。
I told you to fucking shut up!
食べ物を粗末にしちゃった。
That's not the only thing I'm paying attention to.
食べ物を粗末にしちゃった。食べ物を粗末にしちゃった。
スカートのあたりだろ。
just the one who's staring at my little sister, you bug. My urge to kill you is forever more growing. I can't see her panties. Hopefully she hadn't overheard our stupid bantering. I mean, she was already pretty distraught. The air conditioning was running, but I could tell that the smell would linger in the air.
かわいそうだから
Besides, I'm sure she didn't want to take that dirty lunchbox home either. That's a real shame, isn't it? Send you in there.
食べ物を粗末にしちゃった食べ物を粗末にしちゃった
That's a real shame, isn't it?
Nani? 助けてやるの?
Shuji seemed surprised to hear me say that. There is something I need to do anyway, so it's not a big deal. I stood up, took out my pocket watch and checked the time. $12:46. I had been goofing off around a bit, so now there were only 3 minutes left. No, more like 2. Verifying my time limit, I walked over to Makoto. Oh, by the way, this girl, she's the Yakuza's daughter. Makoto, hopefully she hadn't heard our stupid bantering. I mean, she was already pretty distraught. Normally we don't even greet each other in our ways, so of course she would be a little confused. I'm not big on my family name. Just call me by my first name. The air conditioning was running, but I could tell that the smell would linger in the air. Besides, I'm sure she didn't want to take that dirty lunchbox home either. That's right. Oh, by the way, this game has a harem route, which is basically just Crow's route, but during that route you can see them becoming a harem route. That's a knowledge from a Let's Play I saw of this game. Since I have the game, I will aim to have all of these routes. I'll make a poll next, a poll for this later. Since this is the first heroine, what do you guys think about her? Do you guys want me to try her route first? Ha, you horny bastards. That's right. Regarding what I was about to do, I knew full well it wouldn't cause any problems for me. But I could still feel my cheeks burning. This probably isn't the best time, but would you go out with me if I told you that I liked you? A blank expression. The other students who heard me were also left speechless. That's right, a confession. There was an immediate uproar in the room. Wow, he's so straightforward. What the hell? Even the people in the hallway were looking. Wow, he's so straightforward. What the hell? Even people in the hallway were looking in to see what the big fuss was about. Also, this chick is really crazy. This girl's really crazy. I know this is really sudden. From your reaction, I suppose it's not completely out of the question. She laughed awkwardly as her cheeks blushed rosy red.
好きって言われて悪い気はしないけど。ごめん、レイ君とはほとんど話したこともないし、すぐには返事できないな。
No worries, I don't mind if you can't give me an answer right now. I checked the time on my pocket watch again. $12:48. It's about time. Well, anyway, farewell.
さよなら？さよなら？
Be careful with your lunchbox from now on, though. Though I guess there isn't much point in lecturing about it now. I ignored her question, smiled and waved my hand. Bye bye! Then I took the pocket watch in my hand and hurled it to the ground. The world before me shattered. Look at this reverse of time, boys.
さんずい、何読んでるんだ？
I looked up at Shuji, who was right next to me. So 5 minutes ago was right about here then. I cut it pretty close there.
Huh?
Nothing, just talking to myself. This time I gave Shuji the book without telling him the title and stood up from my seat.
おい、どこ行くんだよ。
Just wait there a sec, I won't be long. Just wait there and die! I fucking hate you, Shuji. Should be 10 seconds from now. I casually strolled over by where Makoto was sitting. She was eating lunch with another girl, but she was more focused on the conversation than her food. Then, while she wasn't looking, she tried to reach for her black tea and her elbow bumped against her lunchbox on the table's end. The lunchbox nearly fell off the table. But I was right there to grab it before it fell.
沢鳥くん
That's a real shame, isn't it? Makoto stood up from her seat, clearly surprised at everything that had just occurred. That was close.
そうだね。はあびっくりした。本当にありがとう。
Don't worry about it. Also, I'm not big on my family name. Just call me by my first name.
レイくん
That's right.
わかった。じゃあ私も誠でいいよ。本当にありがとう。
Affection level up. I'll return to my seat, feeling content. So it's not a big deal. Behind me, the other girls in the room were excitingly gossiping about Makoto.
やるな、かっこつけ。